Do you ever feel like you're stuck? Like no matter how hard you push, your life just isn't moving forward fast enough. You wake up, you go to work, you grind, you try to build something better, but deep down you think, I'm still behind. I should be further by now. That thought eats at you, doesn't it? That quiet whisper that says, you're too late, you're not doing enough, you're falling behind everyone else. And every time you scroll through social media, it gets louder, seeing people who look younger, smarter, richer, already living the life you thought you'd have by now. It hurts. It's like a punch in the gut, a reminder that maybe you're not winning the game of life at all. But what if I told you that this entire time, you've been wrong? That while you feel stuck, frustrated, maybe even hopeless, you're actually growing. You're moving faster than you think. And the only reason you don't see it is because growth is invisible until it suddenly explodes. Like bamboo buried underground for years, unseen. Well, it builds roots so strong that when it finally breaks the surface, it shoots up 90 feet in a matter of weeks. That's you. Quietly growing, quietly building, quietly preparing. And in this video, I'm going to show you the 7 signs, 7 subtle but powerful signals that you are growing way faster than you think you are. These are the things most people overlook, the evidence hiding in plain sight that proves you're not standing still, you're accelerating. Once you see them, you'll never doubt yourself the same way again. So if you've ever thought I'm not enough or I'm falling behind, this message is for you. Because by the end of this video, you're going to realize that you're not behind, you're ahead of schedule. You're right where you need to be. And before we dive in, let me tell you this. If you're someone who wants to keep raising your standards, building your discipline, and unlocking the growth you already have inside you, then make sure you subscribe right now. Hit that like button, because we're about to go deep. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Let's begin. Have you ever felt like nothing you do really matters? Like the work you put in is invisible, the progress you make goes unnoticed, and the world around you just keeps moving at its own speed, while you feel frozen? It's frustrating, isn't it? That feeling is exactly why most people give up. They can't see the growth happening beneath the surface. But here's the secret. Growth is almost always invisible. It's not the dramatic leaps you see on Instagram. It's the quiet, daily improvements, the invisible habits, the small decisions stacked one on top of the other until they suddenly manifest in ways you can't ignore. Take Sarah, for instance. She started her first business a few years ago. At first, nothing worked. She barely had clients. She was exhausted, demotivated, and some days she wanted to quit. But every morning, she dedicated just an hour to learning something new: marketing, communication, strategy. Nobody noticed. She wasn't trending on social media. She didn't have accolades or awards. But underneath, she was growing faster than she realized. And one day, out of nowhere, a big client appeared. Revenue jumped, her confidence skyrocketed. That invisible growth had been happening all along, and only later did it become visible. Now, let's talk about the first sign you're growing faster than you think. Your awareness of your own limitations. Most people ignore their weaknesses or distract themselves from them. But if you're noticing them, that's a huge signal. When you're aware of where you fall short, you're already one step ahead. Awareness is the foundation of improvement. For example, maybe you've realized that you procrastinate under pressure, that your patience runs thin in conversations, or that your skills aren't yet at the level you want them to be. Feeling frustrated about these things isn't failure, it's growth. That awareness shows that your mind is already leveling up. You're tuning into what needs to change. And here's a practical tip. Write down your limitations, not as excuses, but as a map of where you can improve. Every time you check off a small improvement, you're layering growth you can't yet see. The second sign is emotional resilience under pressure. If you find that you're handling challenges better than before, even if the world feels heavy, that's a clear indicator of growth. Think about how many people crumble at the first sign of discomfort, how easily they get frustrated when life throws them a curveball. If you notice that you can take a setback, pause, reflect, and keep moving forward without losing momentum, congratulations, that's evidence of progress. And it doesn't happen by accident. This resilience builds slowly, quietly, through experience. It's those small moments of choosing patience over anger, reflection over rash action, persistence over surrender, that compound into massive growth. One practical strategy to accelerate this is journaling your responses to stress. Each time you face a challenge, write down what you felt, what you did, and what you could do better next time. Over weeks, you'll see patterns emerge, and that will confirm your invisible growth in black and white. The third sign is your ability to envision the future with clarity. If you catch yourself planning, dreaming, or visualizing possibilities in ways you never could before, you're growing. Let me give you an example. John, a friend of mine, used to react to life. He didn't plan, he didn't strategize, he just drifted. But slowly, over a few years, he started writing down goals, imagining what he wanted from his career, his health, his relationships. At first, the vision seemed small and unrealistic. But here's the interesting part. The act of imagining a better life rewired his brain. He started seeing opportunities others overlooked. He started acting in ways aligned with that vision. He was growing without realizing it. Visualizing the future isn't daydreaming, it's quietly shaping your trajectory. And here's a practical exercise. Spend 5 minutes every morning imagining the life you want in detail. Picture the smells, the sights, the sounds, even the conversations. This isn't fantasy, it's training your mind to recognize possibilities, and that's invisible growth happening right now. Here's another thing you might notice as a subtle sign: your discomfort with mediocrity. You might feel restless when things aren't aligning with your standards. Maybe you can't stand staying in the same routine, watching the same shows, reading the same type of content, or working with people who don't inspire you. That irritation isn't frustration, it's growth signaling itself. It's your subconscious saying, I'm evolving, and I need more to match this new version of me. And here's the trick. Instead of numbing that discomfort, lean into it. Ask yourself, what can I do today to align with a higher standard of myself? That's how invisible growth translates into action. And here's a subtle, often overlooked sign. You're more selective about your energy. You notice you don't waste it on negativity, gossip, or petty disputes as much as before. You don't need constant validation from social media, friends, or colleagues. That awareness of where your energy goes shows maturity and growth. You're raising your personal standards quietly, and it's happening faster than you realize. A practical way to notice this growth is to track your energy. Write down daily what drained you and what uplifted you. After a few weeks, patterns will emerge that confirm your personal evolution. And finally, the invisible growth is often reflected in your relationships. You might find that old friendships or toxic patterns no longer feel natural. People may comment that you've changed, and yes, you have, but that's growth. It's a sign that your standards and awareness are rising, even if you feel awkward or unsure about it. Let me tell you a story. Maria used to spend most weekends with a large group of friends, but she realized these interactions left her drained, uninspired, and stuck in shallow conversations. Gradually, she started spending more time with people aligned with her goals, mentors, or peers who challenged her to think bigger. At first, it felt lonely, but soon, she noticed her mindset, confidence, and results skyrocketing. Invisible growth was happening through the shift in her environment and relationships. So if you're watching this and wondering if you're behind, if you're doubting your progress, pause for a moment and reflect. Are you noticing these signs? Are you aware of your limitations? Are you handling challenges better than before? Are you imagining a clearer future, feeling restless with mediocrity, conserving your energy, and changing your relationships? If the answer is yes, even in small ways, you're growing faster than you think. The proof is in the subtleties, the small shifts you don't yet recognize, the quiet accumulation of habits, mindset, and awareness. Growth isn't always dramatic. Often, it's invisible. Often, it's uncomfortable. But the fact that you feel it, the fact that you notice these changes, means that under the surface, your life is accelerating. Like the bamboo, unseen roots are forming. And when the time comes, when the right opportunity, challenge, or breakthrough presents itself, you will shoot up with unstoppable force. And if you're still here, you're paying attention, you're invested, that means you care. And I promise, in the next part of this video, we're going to uncover even deeper signs of growth, the ones you might be ignoring because they're so subtle, yet they will change how you see yourself forever. But before we move on, take a moment, reflect on these first signs, maybe even write them down. Awareness is the first step to accelerating this invisible growth. Have you noticed how often you find yourself questioning the choices of the people around you? How sometimes you feel disconnected, not because you want to be alone, but because your mind is evolving faster than your environment? That's the second subtle sign that you're growing faster than you think. Your perspective is shifting. Life looks different now. Problems that used to paralyze you barely register. Conversations that once seemed important now feel trivial. And opportunities that would have intimidated you before now excite you. That shift isn't accidental. It's a signal that your mind is expanding, absorbing lessons you didn't even realize you were learning. Let me share a story. Alex was working in a corporate job, grinding away day after day, feeling unfulfilled. One morning, he caught himself thinking, "Why am I doing the same thing every day that doesn't inspire me?" Instead of dismissing it, he began to pay attention to those thoughts. He realized that his perspective had changed. He was no longer content with the ordinary. That awareness sparked action. He started experimenting with side projects, learning skills online, connecting with people in industries he admired. The results weren't instant, but the growth was undeniable. Within a year, he had a new business, a more fulfilling lifestyle, and a network that matched his evolving vision. Invisible growth, triggered by a subtle change in perspective. The second sign in this stage is your increasing tolerance for discomfort. You might have noticed that situations that once stressed you out, irritated you, or made you anxious now seem manageable. Maybe you're facing challenges that would have triggered panic, yet you respond with calm, focus, and clarity. This is no coincidence. Growth often shows up as expanded emotional bandwidth. Every time you choose discomfort over avoidance, taking risks, speaking up, investing in yourself, you're building resilience. Think of it as a muscle. The more you expose yourself to uncomfortable situations, the stronger you become. Here's a practical tip. Deliberately place yourself in small discomforts daily. Speak to someone challenging, work on a tough task without distractions, or set a bold goal with a small deadline. Over time, you'll see that what once seemed impossible becomes routine. The third sign is your ability to learn from failure faster than before. Most people avoid failure, fear it, or let it define them. But if you've noticed that mistakes no longer crush your spirit, if you can reflect, adapt, and move forward quickly, that's invisible growth at work. Think about entrepreneurs like Elon Musk or Sarah Blakely. They failed repeatedly, Musk with rockets, Blakely with business ideas, but their growth wasn't in avoiding failure, it was in learning faster than anyone else. You can practice this in your own life. When a project, conversation, or opportunity fails, write down exactly what went wrong, what you learned, and what you would do differently next time. That reflection turns failure into an accelerator for growth. Another subtle sign is your increasing patience with long-term processes. If you've ever been someone who needed instant gratification, but not can endure delays, setbacks, or slow progress without giving up, congratulations. That's growth happening beneath the surface. Patience doesn't feel flashy, but it's the invisible engine that separates people who succeed in the long term from those who quit prematurely. Practical tip: set a long-term goal, something that takes months or even years, and track progress weekly instead of daily. Celebrate small wins along the way, and notice how your patience itself grows as you invest in your future self. Here's a fourth, often overlooked sign. You're becoming more self-aware of your energy and priorities. You might find yourself saying no more often, cutting out distractions, avoiding unnecessary drama, and protecting your focus. That's invisible growth manifesting as discipline. The world is full of people who react impulsively to every notification, every gossip, every minor problem. If you're consciously deciding what deserves your attention and what doesn't, you're building momentum that most people never achieve. A practical exercise. For 1 week, track every activity that takes your energy. Identify patterns that drain you and replace them with activities that align with your evolving goals. That's how growth compounds quietly, unseen by others. The fifth sign is your evolving belief system. If you've noticed that your opinions, your values, or your beliefs are changing, especially about success, money, relationships, or purpose, you're growing. And not just surface-level opinions, but the kind that influence action. When your core beliefs shift, your behavior shifts naturally. For example, you might have once thought, "I'm just not good at learning new skills," but now you think, "I can master anything if I apply myself consistently." That shift transforms how you approach life, and it's invisible growth happening in real time. Another one is your increasing attraction to mentors and higher-level thinking. You might notice you're drawn to books, podcasts, or people who challenge you, inspire you, and push you out of comfort zones. Growth often shows up as the people and content you seek. If you find yourself feeling restless consuming the same content as before, it's a subtle sign that your mind is ready for expansion. Practical tip: seek one new mentor, one challenging book, or one learning experience every month. You'll notice that as your inputs change, your outputs, your actions, mindset, and growth change in kind. Finally, the seventh sign is your rising standards in subtle, personal ways. Maybe you're choosing healthier foods, speaking with more clarity, dressing in a way that commands respect, or even refining the way you communicate. These aren't flashy accomplishments, but they signal a deeper alignment with growth. They reflect the quiet evolution of your identity, a foundation upon which dramatic results will eventually build. Practical tip: pick one area of your life this week where you feel average, and raise your standard. Just one. Then observe how the tiny shift influences everything else. All of these signs: the perspective shift, tolerance for discomfort, fast learning from failure, patience, energy awareness, evolving beliefs, attraction to growth-minded people, and rising personal standards are subtle, almost invisible. That's why most people overlook them. They feel frustrated, anxious, or stagnant, thinking that nothing is happening. That if you pay attention, if you reflect, you realize that your life is accelerating quietly, beneath the surface. That invisible growth is already preparing you for breakthroughs that will feel sudden, but are really the culmination of consistent evolution over time. So take a moment right now. Reflect on the last few months of your life. Have you experienced any of these shifts, even slightly? If the answer is yes, then you're not stuck. You're not behind. You're growing faster than you think. And if you stay with me for the next section, we're going to uncover even deeper, almost hidden signs of growth, the ones that prove not just that you're improving, but that you're on a trajectory that will transform your entire life. The kind of growth that feels invisible today, will be undeniable tomorrow. By now, you might be starting to notice a pattern. You're not just changing in visible ways, you're evolving internally, in ways almost nobody else can see. That's the third and final stage. The signs that your growth isn't just happening, it's accelerating at a rate you can barely recognize. The first of these ultimate signs is your increasing confidence in making decisions without validation. You no longer wait for permission, reassurance, or approval from others. You make choices based on your judgment, your knowledge, and your evolving intuition. Think about it. How many times have you hesitated because you were afraid of what others would think? Now, imagine the liberation of making decisions boldly, even if everyone disagrees. That's invisible growth solidifying into action. Consider Daniel, a young entrepreneur who used to second-guess every email, every pitch, every presentation. He constantly sought validation from peers and mentors. Slowly, as he gained experience and reflected on his successes and failures, he realized he didn't need constant approval. His decisions became sharper, his confidence more natural, and his results began to multiply. He was growing faster than he thought, and it was almost invisible until the outcomes manifested. A practical exercise to develop this yourself: start making small daily decisions without asking anyone for input. Track them. Observe how your confidence and speed improve. The compounding effect is astonishing. The second sign is your ability to see opportunity where others see chaos. Life is messy, unpredictable, and often intimidating. But if you've reached a point where obstacles feel like potential pathways instead of roadblocks, that's advanced growth. You see patterns, anticipate problems, and navigate uncertainty in ways that would have paralyzed you a few months ago. Here's a story. A friend of mine, Lisa, was working in a struggling startup. Everyone saw risk, layoffs, and instability. She saw opportunity, skills to develop, gaps to fill, relationships to build. She leaned in, took calculated risks, and positioned herself for massive growth. Months later, she had a thriving business and a network she never imagined. Growth isn't always flashy. Often, it's the ability to act when others freeze. Another profound sign is your sense of purpose and alignment with your deeper values. Growth isn't just about skills, habits, or achievements, it's about becoming the person you're meant to be. If you've noticed a stronger connection to what matters most, if your actions increasingly reflect your inner values rather than external expectations, that's a signal your growth is real and powerful. Take a moment to reflect. Are you living in alignment with your beliefs, passions, and vision? If yes, that is the most important form of growth because it sustains everything else. A practical tip: define your top 3 core values and review them weekly. Ask, do my actions today reflect these values? The answer will show how far you've come. The fourth sign is the way you handle criticism and conflict. If you've noticed that feedback, especially negative, no longer triggers defensiveness, frustration, or anger, but instead sparks reflection and learning, that's profound growth. Similarly, if conflicts no longer derail you, but rather become opportunities to understand perspectives, negotiate, and strengthen relationships, you're evolving faster than you think. Growth shows up not when life is easy, but when it's difficult. To practical exercise, next time you receive criticism, pause, ask, what can I learn from this? How does this help me grow? You'll be amazed at how quickly your perspective changes. Fifth, your creativity and problem solving are accelerating. You might notice solutions appearing faster, ideas connecting more fluidly, and insights emerging in moments that previously would have caused stress. This isn't magic, it's the result of your brain reorganizing itself through all the invisible growth you've accumulated. Think of it as mental compounding. The more experience, reflection, and learning you integrate, the sharper your mind becomes. Practical tip: dedicate 30 minutes each day to deliberate practice. Brainstorm, journal, sketch, or visualize solutions to real problems. Over time, your ability to innovate will grow exponentially. The sixth sign is your energy and focus becoming magnetic. People around you start noticing subtle shifts. Your presence commands attention, your calm determination inspires, and your focused action draws opportunities toward you. You're no longer scattered or reactive, you're deliberate, aligned, and unstoppable. Growth often manifests in these subtle, almost invisible ways that others sense before you do. Practical exercise: track your energy throughout the day. Identify peak periods for focus, schedule demanding tasks during them, and guard those windows. Your invisible growth will become visible in the results you produce. And finally, the seventh and perhaps most profound sign: your ability to trust the process and embrace the journey. You're no longer obsessed with immediate results or external validation. You understand that growth is compounding, quiet, and often invisible. You've learned patience, resilience, and the power of consistent action. You trust that the small steps you take today will create a future you can't yet imagine. That trust isn't naive, it's built on the evidence of your own evolution. Think of it like bamboo: buried roots, unseen progress, and then one day sudden, unstoppable growth. So pause for a moment. Look back at your journey. Can you see the invisible growth, the awareness of your limitations, your resilience, your vision, your shifting perspective, tolerance for discomfort, alignment with values, and now these advanced signs: decision-making without validation, opportunity in chaos, handling criticism, creativity, energy, and trust in the journey? If you notice even a few of these, you're not just growing, you're accelerating. You're ahead of schedule. You're preparing for breakthroughs that feel sudden, but are really the result of months, maybe years, of invisible growth. And here's the takeaway: growth isn't always dramatic. It isn't always visible. It's subtle, slow, quiet, and often misunderstood. But if you pay attention, if you reflect, and if you act deliberately on these signs, you'll realize your life is transforming faster than you ever imagined. The people, the opportunities, the confidence, the clarity, they're coming. You've already built the foundation. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be. You're growing faster than you think. So here's your call to action. Don't let this realization stop with knowledge alone. Take one small, deliberate action today. Reflect on the signs you've noticed, write them down, and make a plan to amplify them. Share this video with someone who needs to see that growth is happening quietly in their life. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, because the journey of growth doesn't stop here. And most importantly, believe it, because what's invisible today will be undeniable tomorrow.